The world is in chaos. Streets are empty, cars are abandoned, and bodies lie lifeless across the city. 3 weeks have passed since a mysterious event wiped out almost every man on the planet. Amidst the destruction, a lone monkey is scavenging for supplies when a helicopter crashes nearby. At the last second, Yorick, the only surviving male, saves the animal, unaware that his presence will change the course of history. The story takes us back to the day before the apocalypse. Yorick is practicing magic with his friend Fred. However, his plans are disrupted when Fred leaves for a magic camp. Yorick heads to Brooklyn to visit his sister, Hero, and ask for some cash. Although Hero reluctantly gives him the money, she warns him against proposing to his girlfriend, Beth, especially since Yorick can't even afford his rent. The idea of proposing seems unrealistic when he's struggling with his finances. Meanwhile, Yorick's mother, Jennifer, works as a congresswoman in Washington, D.C. She's respected in her position, but her life is about to take an unexpected turn. In Oklahoma, the first signs of a deadly plague are appearing. A young woman named Agent 355, an assassin, is assigned a high-priority mission. She successfully eliminates her target and receives an urgent new assignment: head to Washington. Back in New York, Yorick's girlfriend, Beth, is teaching her students. She's outspoken, curses frequently, and is known for speaking with her mouth full. During a conversation with Yorick, he gets down on one knee and asks her to marry him, but his proposal is far from perfect. Beth rejects him, especially since he wants to follow his dream of pursuing a career in magic, while she plans to move to Australia. The tension between them escalates as they argue, and Beth storms off. Outside, the streets are overrun by a horde of rats, signaling that something far worse is about to unfold. Meanwhile, Beth's ex, Mike, is in a violent argument with her. In the back of an ambulance, she loses control and accidentally kills him with a fire extinguisher. As Mike bleeds out, chaos begins to take over the city. In Washington, Agent 355 is preparing to carry out her next mission. Posing as a security officer, she enters a building where important figures, including the president and Jennifer, are present. But before she can act, everything changes. News breaks out about a mass casualty event in Israel, and then New York experiences the same disaster. Every male in the city drops dead, bleeding from their orifices, causing panic and mass hysteria. Yorick is the only man left alive, and the world is left in shock. Agent 355, shaken by the chaos, hides in a bathroom and activates a homing beacon. She knows she must face the chaos outside. On day 8 of the apocalypse, snow blankets the streets as Agent 355 heads to her secret base of operations. She tries to contact other military bases but receives no response. Alone and uncertain, she opens a box of gear and finds a note reading "Not yet," along with an address. At this point, the situation is already dire, but she decides to follow the address. Back in Washington, the nation is on the brink of collapse. Power plants are shutting down, and food shortages are becoming critical. Agent 355 manages to return to the president's office and confides in Jennifer. She reveals that she's part of a covert task force called the Culper Ring, which answers directly to the president. The task force was briefed about an assassination attempt on the president, but the details are still unclear. As riots erupt and women storm the White House, Jennifer steps up to lead, preparing to make difficult decisions. With no men left, she assumes the role of president. On day 63, Yorick, now living alone, leaves a note for Beth to let her know he's still alive. After 2 months of isolation, he decides he can't stay indoors anymore. He ventures out into the harsh elements, wearing a mask to protect himself. Meanwhile, New York City faces more challenges. A sinkhole has opened up, and the city's water supply is contaminated, increasing the risk of waterborne illnesses. Hero, still in New York, is caught in the chaos. With only 80,000 women left in the city and the situation growing more dire, Jennifer orders Agent 355 to retrieve her daughter. Hero is in a gymnasium-turned-survivor camp, but she's not alone. She's been staying with Sam and other men who are transgender. These men survived because they weren't affected by the plague, thanks to their testosterone treatments. However, their safety is uncertain. With the city in turmoil, Jennifer calls for the evacuation of New York. Her voice echoes through the tannoy, but there are bigger problems at hand. A militia group has taken control of the Arizona State House and is holding 12 hostages. These militants believe the plague is the result of a biological weapon. As Jennifer works to handle this crisis, Kimberly, a trusted advisor, emphasizes the importance of saving sperm from sperm banks. Without men, there's no future, she argues. Jennifer reassures her that 100 sperm banks have been secured across the country, but their immediate priority is survival. Meanwhile, Yorick is struggling to survive in the waterlogged streets of New York. He heads into the subway where the water is rising and begins hallucinating. Seeking shelter, he finds a launderette and attempts to change into dry clothes. However, 3 women there are suspicious of him and point guns at him. Yorick tries to offer peace by leaving a Snickers bar on the table, but the women don't trust him. He leaves the launderette with clothes and heads to Hero's apartment, but she's not there. In the midst of this chaos, Agent 355 arrives at Hero's apartment, hoping to find her. Instead, she encounters Yorick and demands to know who he is. She subdues him, bringing him to Jennifer, and orders the helicopter pilots to follow her. Nora and Mackenzie return to a house they've been sharing with several other families, only to find that resources are running low. Food is scarce, and the snowmelt is drying up. The situation forces them to make a difficult decision, and in the end, Nora and Mackenzie are left behind. Meanwhile, Agent 355, who is guarding the compound with her helicopter pilots, is keeping Yorick's presence under wraps for now. However, it's only a matter of time before the secret gets out. Yorick goes hunting for Amp, who has run off, and things quickly spiral out of control. As the camera pans through the corridors of the house, the sound of TVs can still be heard in the background. Marla, one of the residents, is awake and watching old reruns when she notices something odd: shadows moving down the hallway. She decides to investigate and sets off on a hunt. Yorick, meanwhile, finds his pet monkey, but is unexpectedly confronted by Marla. Jennifer and Agent 355 arrive just in time to cover up the situation, pretending that Marla is imagining things. Jennifer, however, is concerned when she sees footage from the CCTV cameras, but Agent 355 reassures her that everything is under control. Yet things are far from okay. The presence of Yorick in the building is a ticking time bomb. Agent 355 recalls a similar situation in Russia that got completely out of hand. While the makeshift government building has plenty of food and supplies, the outside world is suffering. There are women starving in the streets, yet Yorick indulges in a massive meal of spaghetti, only to later throw it up. It's a grim reminder of the stark contrast between his situation and the suffering of others. The tension only grows, and Jennifer realizes there's a bigger crisis at hand. Away from the chaos in New York City, a nuclear power plant is at risk, and without the proper personnel, it's an urgent problem. Jennifer calls on Dr. Sharon Jacobs for help, but it's not so simple. Dr. Jacobs has abandoned her post, overwhelmed by the grief of losing her sons. In Tel Aviv, Regina wakes up to find that she's been named the next president. This throws Jennifer's leadership into question. With a new political figure on the rise, Jennifer's hold on power is threatened. To make matters worse, Kimberly, an ambitious woman who wants to take charge, befriends Agent 355 and works her way into the inner circle. She insists that Jennifer should take Regina out of the picture, believing she is unfit to lead. Kimberly isn't done, though. She attends a children's center, where she meets the wife of a deceased politician. She asks for support in case the time comes, reinforcing her plans to take control. Back at the house, Nora and Mackenzie are alone. Kenzie gets hurt while trying to protect the wrapped bodies of her father and brother from crows. It's a heartbreaking moment, and Nora decides to bury them in the garden. Meanwhile, Agent 355 and the others prepare to move Yorick to see Man. There's some irony in this decision, but Yorick has one condition: Jennifer must find Beth. Jennifer is conflicted, though, as Regina's rise to power is causing major problems. Everyone agrees that Regina is unfit for the presidency, and her cabinet stands behind Jennifer. But Kimberly disagrees. She's determined to have a say in the matter and doesn't want to be pushed aside. As tensions rise, an explosion occurs when one of the helicopters crashes. Agent 355 doesn't flinch, remaining calm as she tells Yorick to keep going. They continue their journey, and eventually, Jennifer convinces Sharon Jacobs to help with the nuclear plant crisis. This provides a temporary relief, but Jennifer can't shake the feeling of unease. Grieving for her losses, she checks the wall of male victims. Kimberly joins her, holding her hand, but it's not comfort that she offers. It's a reminder of the strange things that are happening around them. Kimberly brings up the strange situation with Marla, who claimed to have seen Yorick wandering the halls. It only deepens the mystery. Yorick and Agent 355 are now deep in the woods, trying to keep a low profile. They ditch the helicopter to avoid detection. However, 2 scavengers stumble upon their campsite. Yorick tries to chase them off, but Agent 355 quickly points out that this could have gone wrong if they were armed. Meanwhile, Hero and Sam are on the run, heading for a small town. In a nearby barn, Sam finds a car that still has fuel, and they decide to drive it. Hero tries to convince Sam to wait until morning, but when Sam falls asleep, Hero sabotages the car, ensuring that they can't use it. This turns out to be a foolish decision when they later find a local store, only to realize that the shelves are bare. However, they spot a ball bouncing across the floor, and it leads them to a young girl with an infected wound. It's Mackenzie, and she's in dire condition. Sam agrees to help her, and they take her to the house where they've been staying. Yorick and Agent 355, still wearing their gas masks, arrive at a busy marketplace. They manage to trade a generator for a bike, believing they're in the clear. But as Yorick spots someone who looks like Beth, he decides to go after her on his own. He sneaks through the marketplace, heading for an abandoned tunnel where he's soon surrounded by women who tear off his gas mask and see that he's a man. It's a disastrous move, but Agent 355 comes to his rescue, knocking out the women and dragging him back to the bike. They barely escape, and Agent 355 reminds him of the importance of the mission. She warns him to stop acting so recklessly. Back at the house, Nora and Mackenzie are hiding out. In the dead of night, 4 women armed with guns show up. One of their friends, Kate, has been shot, and Hero does her best to save her. Unfortunately, Kate is beyond help, and without a trauma surgeon, there's no way to save her. After a mercy kill, the women, still reeling from the loss, agree to help Nora, Mackenzie, and the others. But Nora knows who Hero is, and she warns her to keep quiet. As they're led to a back room, they're shocked to discover massive stockpiles of food. Yorick and Agent 355 find themselves on the streets, their eyes scanning the graffiti-covered walls as they walk through a curfewed city. Military vehicles patrol the area, making it dangerous to be out in the open. Realizing the situation, Agent 355 orders Yorick to put on his gas mask and hide in an alleyway. She then heads off to question the military convoy stationed near Harvard, trying to get information about Dr. Mann's whereabouts. As she approaches the soldiers, 355 keeps her cool, asking them about Dr. Mann. The scientist's lab has been destroyed, and the streets are filled with tear gas as protests escalate. 355 quickly realizes the complexity of their mission has just increased. It's going to be much harder to find Dr. Mann now. Meanwhile, Yorick, ignoring 355's orders, breaks into a building behind him. The building turns out to be a rebel hideout, and it doesn't take long for Yorick to make a mistake. He takes off his gas mask and reveals to a girl named Steph that he's a male. This doesn't go over well, and Agent 355 is not happy with his disobedience. She drags him back to the alleyway and forces him to move, heading to her place of residence for safety. At her place, they find photos of the Union Club, the same place where they originally found Dr. Mann. But the news is grim. With the lab destroyed, Dr. Mann is planning to leave for San Francisco, the only place with a functioning lab where she can continue her research. Agent 355 decides to report this to Jennifer and wait for further orders. Before she can hear back, Reed informs Jennifer about the crash site where helicopters have been found, but no bodies have been located. It's a bad sign, and it doesn't look good for the team. Later, Agent 355 heads to Warren Street, following the instructions on a slip of paper she received earlier. Sneaking into a building through a top window, she finds another assassin waiting. The two engage in a fight but soon stop, realizing they have a mutual goal. Both are waiting for instructions from their superior. However, the assassin named 525 has had enough. She's been stuck in the house for weeks and wants out. She tells Agent 355 the only way to break free is to kill their superior and end the loop they're stuck in. Meanwhile, back at the Pentagon, Regina has returned from her trip to Israel, and tensions are immediately high between her and Jennifer. Regina is eyeing the presidency position, and Kimberly, aware of this, privately warns that Regina's ambitions are not hidden. Later, in a quiet moment, Allison Mann drunkenly discusses the importance of the Y chromosome, mentioning how many variations exist beyond just men and women. But their conversation is interrupted when Agent 355 returns with new orders from Jennifer. The team is cleared to head to San Francisco. Agent 355, Dr. Mann, and Yorick attend a candlelit procession in honor of the men who have died. The peaceful scene is filled with mourners and a rendition of Radiohead's music in the background, but the calm doesn't last long. 3 bikers are spotted watching them, and Agent 355 quickly realizes they're after her group. As flyers with her face on them are handed out, 355 ushers the group into an abandoned church nearby for safety. Inside, 355 admits to Dr. Mann that she never actually spoke to Jennifer, as the radio was swarmed with military personnel. She decides to take on the 3 soldiers alone, hoping to buy some time for Yorick and Dr. Mann to rest. As they sleep, Agent 355 watches over them from a balcony. her eyes filled with tears, a clear sign that she's struggling mentally. Yorick notices her distress and approaches, trying to comfort her. But when he sees her almost fall over the balcony's edge, it's clear that she's not in her right mind. She's sleepwalking, and Yorick manages to stop her before it's too late. Back at the Pentagon, Kimberly continues to stir trouble, trying to secure support for a coup to overthrow Jennifer from her position. She sets her sights on Christine, offering to help raise her child, claiming it's a gift from God amidst all the chaos. Meanwhile, in the rebel camp, Hero, Sam, and others watch as a new family shows up at their perimeter. Roxanne, the leader of the rebel group, tells them to leave or face the consequences. Despite all the talk of male oppression, Roxanne's group is just as ruthless, turning away anyone seeking refuge. Nora, however, decides to approach Roxanne and speaks to her one-on-one. Nora reveals that she used to be a detective and has an instinct for sensing who's trustworthy. Roxanne encourages Nora to embrace her true self and be all in with the group, especially if she wants to fit in. That evening, Nora participates in a ritual ceremony with the group, showing her loyalty as they initiate one of their own. Meanwhile, Agent 355 sits by a campfire, reflecting on everything that has happened. She's aware that she's being watched, but she's determined to keep pushing forward. As she and Dr. Mann take out the soldiers, one of them manages to spot Yorick. Agent 355 lies about it, deciding not to kill him. But she's still upset with Yorick for trying to escape, and she demands he cut the shoelaces of their shoes and burn them to slow them down. Just before they leave, Agent 355 stomps on the walkie-talkie, severing the radio connection with Jennifer and Regina. As Regina and Jennifer continue to bicker, Nora is awakened by the sound of crying. She sneaks out to find Laura and two other women confronting Kelsey for betraying the group by talking to Sam. They beat her down, and Nora watches from the shadows, realizing just how dangerous the situation has become. She's in deeper than she thought, and the stakes are higher than ever. Tensions are running high between Yorick and Agent 355 after the lies about communication with Brown. Agent 355 is struggling, and in a moment of exhaustion, she falls asleep while driving, crashing the vehicle into a tree. Before they can process what happened, a military convoy arrives, holding them all at gunpoint. Meanwhile, the assassin Peggy is reporting to Jennifer that she's found a man. As she describes the monkey and his appearance, Regina listens closely, intrigued, but Jennifer, after hearing enough, decides Peggy should be reassigned and speaks privately to her associates about the matter. Outside, Beth shows up alone, immediately asking about Hero. She reveals that she made it back to her house but couldn't summon the courage to go inside. Though the details of her story are hazy and filled with inconsistencies, Brown doesn't press for more answers. Instead, she welcomes Beth and offers to show her around. When Yorick wakes up, he finds himself in an unfamiliar house, completely naked, surrounded by a group of women. Amp is locked in a cage, and as Yorick gets to know these women, he's struck by how simple things, like a slice of toast, seem so fascinating. He learns that they get their electricity from a generator. Meanwhile, Agent 355 and Mann wake up in a cold, dark cell. While they try to figure out a way to escape, a welcoming committee arrives to bring Yorick into the cell. He gives them what information he has, but the women seem undecided about whether they will be killed. Yorick stays hopeful, but Mann and Agent 355 aren't so sure. Their leader, Janice, eventually returns and informs them that they can stay until Agent 355 has recovered. They're also free to leave at any time, but Agent 355 remains cautious about the situation. Meanwhile, Kim and Regina are discussing the possibility that Yorick might still be alive. Kim, convinced by the fact that Marla saw him during a sleepwalking episode, believes it's a sign from God and that Yorick has been chosen. After hearing enough, Marla angrily confronts Jennifer, bitterly declaring that her son doesn't deserve to live while Ted does. After their heated exchange, Marla decides to leave, but rather than walking away, she throws herself off the building, shocking Kimberly. In the midst of all this turmoil, Beth decides to leave. She explains that she's been staying with friends, and that it's no surprise Yorick didn't check there when searching for Hero. As for Yorick, Agent 355 warns him to be cautious as the last surviving male heads off alone into town to meet the others and eat some food. Even Mann isn't with him. Yorick learns through casual conversation that the vote to allow the trio to stay in the town wasn't a unanimous decision. Outside the gates, it's revealed that Beth has been working with a covert group of women, and they head to the Pentagon to scout the area. Jennifer's trust in Beth might have just put them all at risk. Meanwhile, back inside the community, Roxanne rushes in after shooting Kate in cold blood, making it look like they're under attack. The The women immediately arm themselves and chaos erupts as gunfire fills the air. Hope impresses some of the ladies, but Sam doesn't fare as well. Amidst the violence, Nora learns that she's being kicked out of the facility soon. Within days, to be exact. Roxanne, however, is unfazed by Nora's shock. In flashbacks, we learn more about Roxanne's past and how she came to lead this community. She manipulated the women into supporting her, claiming that everyone was welcome. But as time passed, things soured, and the group became bitter and resentful under Roxanne's increasingly authoritarian rule. Nora senses danger and tries, but fails, to convince Sam to leave with her. Meanwhile, Hero begins to buy into Roxanne's toxic ideology. As Hero and Sam argue, the rest of the community overhears their heated exchange. Sam pleads with Hero to leave with her, but Hero's objections only fuel their anger. Sam accuses Hero of not keeping promises, and tensions escalate. Just as things reach a boiling point, Roxanne intervenes, forcing Sam to apologize. That night, as the rest of the community dances and parties outside, Sam is forced out of the facility. The party is meant to make her feel more welcome, but as Roxanne coldly points out, men aren't good at staying. However, Nora is not in the mood to join in. She heads inside when the festivities die down and finds Roxanne passed out on the sofa, drunk. Seeing an opportunity, Nora takes a canister of gasoline and sets Price Max on fire. The building is destroyed, and everyone flees in panic. As Nora investigates further, she uncovers the truth about Roxanne's past and the real reason behind her behavior. Using clever blackmail, Nora strikes a deal with Roxanne. Roxanne will remain in charge, pretending to be the male-hating savior, but now she will have to treat Nora and Mackenzie as part of the inner circle. They will also get to eat first. With no other choice, Roxanne reluctantly agrees to these terms. A flashback reveals how Roxanne was once confronted with sexist behavior at Price Max, but instead of addressing it, the patriarchal rule ignored it. Now Roxanne uses this experience to rally the group around her, and Nora seems satisfied with how things are going. She slips Roxanne's name tag into her pocket, marking the next phase of her plan. Yorick and Agent 355 are still at the compound, and as 355 returns, Yorick is more certain than ever that this is a safe place. Things start to settle, and Yorick convinces 355 to join him in a dance, despite the heavy mission weighing on their minds. After all, they are supposed to be on a mission to find a cure, but the tension and frustration between them build up, and 355, feeling more trusting, makes a bold move and destroys her tracker. She chooses to believe that this is indeed a safe place after all. Meanwhile, Nora, with her own agenda, leads a group of Amazonian women on horseback to raid a nearby community. They destroy food stores and tip over water jugs, leaving nothing but chaos in their wake. Nora confronts Roxanne about this reckless behavior, pointing out that the food could have been useful for their survival. But Roxanne dismisses Nora's concerns with a laugh, even mocking her when Nora calls her childish. This only fuels the tension between them. Back at the Pentagon, Regina and Kimberly are preparing for a coup. Kimberly, still reeling from her mother's death, struggles to focus as she prepares to confront Jennifer Brown. Before the big meeting, Kimberly absent-mindedly slides a shard of glass across the floor with her foot. When everyone gathers to challenge Jennifer's abuse of power, they waste no time pressing her for the truth about Yorick. Jennifer eventually admits her secrets, and the women turn on her, demanding that she be placed in protective custody. Regina steps up to take control, but there are still doubts within the war room about whether they can trust her. However, things take a chaotic turn when Beth and her group of activists infiltrate the Pentagon and cause a massive explosion. As the building erupts in chaos, Beth and her crew hold everyone hostage. While the women in charge are distracted by their power struggle, a heated debate between Jennifer and Regina breaks out over who is the true president. The argument escalates quickly, and in the midst of it, Regina is shot in the head. With her death, Jennifer Brown is solidified as the president, but her victory is short-lived. The army arrives and tear gas floods the hallways, turning the Pentagon into a battleground. Meanwhile, the Amazonian group, led by Roxanne, stumbles upon a list of men and sets out to find them. But Nora, learning of a nearby community with electricity and shelter, knows that they must get to Yorick. With everyone converging on his location, the tension is building. Agent 355 is feeling the weight of their situation, and the eerie, haunting sounds of orchestral singing fill her thoughts as she senses danger closing in. As the storm clouds gather, Agent 355 wakes up on her back in the middle of a street. It's a disturbing, almost prophetic scene. She's been sleepwalking, and now she's in danger. feeling trapped. She knows they need to leave in 24 hours, but Yorick isn't convinced. There's a sense of doubt between them, especially as Roxanne and Nora close in on Marysville. Both of them have different ideas on how to handle the situation. Roxanne wants to go in with guns blazing, while Nora thinks a more calculated approach will work better. As the tension mounts, Hero learns from a couple of outlaws that the Pentagon has been attacked. She's left in shock, unsure of how to process the news. Meanwhile, Nora, while on the move, notices a bloody towel and realizes that her daughter, Mackenzie, has started her period. She hands Mackenzie her ring, symbolizing that she has now officially become a woman, urging her to stay strong as they navigate this treacherous world. Christine and Kimberly wake up in a barn, still processing the events around them. Kimberly, having had a dream about Yorick, becomes more determined than ever to find him. She believes it's her destiny. Meanwhile, outside, Roxanne and her band of Amazons, clad in pink, arrive in Marysville and demand to see Yorick. A standoff quickly develops and warning shots are fired, signaling the beginning of a bloody conflict. Yorick and Allison manage to hide, while Agent 355 uses her wits to turn the tables on her captor, shifting the fight in their favor. Chaos ensues as the Amazons engage in battle with the people of Marysville. In the midst of it all, Hero spots Yorick fleeing with Sonia, whom he had spent the night with, and Allison. Hero warns Yorick that the Amazons are after him, and just as she speaks, Sonia is shot and killed by an Amazon warrior. Hero fights back, killing the rogue Amazon. Amid the bloodshed, Nora, feeling the weight of the situation, steps forward and surrenders to Roxanne's fury. Roxanne is enraged and curses Nora, walking away in frustration. But when the other women, seemingly let go by Marysville, join Nora, she seizes the opportunity to start a coup. She shoots Roxanne in the chest and tells the other Amazons that they will make the world fear them. In the final moments of the show, as the dust settles, Yorick is determined not to be a victim any longer. Agent 355 agrees to help train him, and as they drive off into the unknown, the world they know is forever changed. And to change to a new and nice story, I recommend you click my recaps on the right next. Subscribe and drop a like to return to the best movie event in town next Saturday, my friend.